Our conditions will change outside, so we are very, very happy that we can perform for you this evening with all of our groups. And most appreciative of all the changes and adaptations you've made in your schedules to make tonight possible for you to be here and all of our performers. Thank you. My name is David Orhowski. I'm the chair of the K-12 instrumental program, also band director for 8th and 9th grade at Penfield, and I teach the jazz band there as well. I welcome you this evening. Just a couple quick announcements for you. The first has to do with your program. We are switching Pembrook and Penfield in the order. So after the elementary wind ensemble, we will hear from Penfield, then Pendale, then Pembrook. Also like to request and remind you that our auditorium, we ask there be no food or drink of any kind, including water bottles here in the auditorium at North Penn High School, and we appreciate your acknowledging that, and thank you for so. And now we would like to move into our first performing group that is here on our stage. It's a great group. It's so wonderful that we have an elementary wind ensemble that we add to this evening because it is the beginning piece of the program that you'll see culminating with our high school group tonight. And the North Penn Elementary Wind Ensemble is made up of children from 4 schools: Bridle Path, Gwynnor, Montgomery, and Walton Farm. They're under the direction of 2 gentlemen that give a great deal to this group, so it can be as exceptional as it is, Mr. James Markapole and Mr. Chris Thompson, and I believe Mr. Thompson shall be our first conductor for the group. Please join me in welcoming the North Penn Elementary Wind Ensemble. And let's hear it again for our first group. They did a great job. Thank you very much. And again, to remind you, our next group is Penfield, so we'll take a few minutes for the stage to be set for that. I do want to tell you a little bit something that Mr. Britcher and I had the opportunity to experience in the last few days. He and I were invited to attend what is called the Ensemble Institute, the VIP Institute for educators, and we flew out up to Elkhart, Indiana, where it was -6 when we got up this morning. And we went out on Monday, and they spent the day with us yesterday as educators. They invite 4 band directors from the country for each of these visitations, and we had the opportunity to be there, and we're certainly grateful for our ability to be there and are thankful to our school district for providing us the opportunity to take a few days to attend. And there were a lot of things that came about from it, a lot of ways that industry, the consumer industry, wants to get to know music education and music educators better. And the one thing I'll mention about it, and I'll tell you a little more about it as we go along tonight, was it is the last American-made musical instrument factory in this country. And we got to go through the factory, see instruments built, see how they're doing them, meet with them, and it was a very enjoyable and impressive opportunity for us. And as we go through the night, I'm going to just throw out 1 or 2 other things about it in between the bands. So we'll take a little break here while we set up and get ready for Penfield. Thank you. Like all 3 middle schools, we have wind ensembles in which students from our 7th, 8th, 9th grade band programs audition to be part of these groups in the same way they audition, for example, to be in our jazz band programs. But this is a really great opportunity that 7th and 8th, 9th graders can all come together and learn, in most cases, more advanced repertoire and have musicians together that are seeking to go that extra level. When the wind ensembles began some perhaps 15 or more years ago, that was the intent, and it has certainly fulfilled that as in each of our middle schools. And next we do have the Penfield Wind Ensemble, and each of our performing groups from the middle school will be doing 2 selections, and this evening opening with Mountain Time from Penfield and then Sun Cycles. Without any further pause, I would like to introduce the director of the Penfield Wind Ensemble. Please welcome Mr. Chris Thompson and the ensemble. Thank you.
Thank you.
So story number 2 from our time in Elkhart, Indiana. Those who are trumpet players or trombone players know that there's a really important and significant, there we go, any trumpet and trombone players out there? There we go, good. The majority of trumpet players in particular, when they went to buy a new trumpet or a professional trumpet, would buy what model? Anyone know? A Bach Stradivarius, that's right. So one of the most impressive things Mr. Britcher and I saw, and both being trumpet players, it was like this amazing experience, is we were watching them make Bach trumpets and Bach trombones. And what impressed us most about it was that we really pictured everything being much more automated going into the process. And when we got there, we were incredibly impressed to the degree of individual craftsmanship, people actually using their hands and blow torches and hammers and everything they needed to do to create this instrument. It was not being done on an assembly line, especially as a professional model instrument. The majority of our beginner instruments and elementary level instruments are because it's important that they are absolutely the same and consistent. But to watch professional instruments being made was an absolute treat. To watch then to go to the percussion area where they make percussion instruments. And the chimes that you see in the back on the left, in this case, I'm not sure if they're the same brand, but we have Musser chimes in many of our buildings. And we watch the person who takes each chime and perfectly tunes it by hand according to the overtones that she hears. And if it's not quite right, it literally, believe it or not, goes in a vise to tighten a certain place in the chime where it's not in tune with itself. And we were so impressed with the craftsmanship and the care that went into making these instruments. And for us, it even gave us more appreciation of the instruments that go into our kids' hands, no matter what grade level they are or how significant the instrument is, being professional or a beginning instrument, that people take a lot of care. And we also joked around that it'll be a nice opportunity for us to remind our kids to be a little more careful with the instruments their parents are providing. So it was a really awesome day for us to experience, and it was also challenging. Can you imagine what it's like getting through O'Hare Airport today? Got a good story about that one too. So we're going to see if Mr. Heller is close to being ready, and we'll be back with you. Mr. Heller has asked that I mention a few things about the 2 pieces he's about to do with his group. The first one being Call of the Wild. It's based on a novel by the same name. I'll wait, actually, till you're ready. You good? Yeah. Yes, I know. Shh. It's amazing how well that works. Okay. Now we'll start. A formal, quiet introduction for each group. Call of the Wild is based on a novel by the same author, by the same name, and is a musical portrayal of the story by American author Jack London. It takes place in the Yukon during the 19th century, and the story follows Buck, a domesticated St. Bernard Scotch sheep mix who is taken from his comfortable life in California and subjected to the brutal life of a sled dog. As he endures harsh treatment from humans, other animals, and nature itself, he struggles with his identity and eventually gives in to his natural instincts, which help him become a natural leader in the wild. Oh, that's Mr. Heller. And now the second piece they're going to do, I'll talk a little about as well. It is called, what is it called? It's called Night Ride Through Metropolis. Fasten your seatbelts. and hold on to the grab handles. You are about to go on an exciting night ride through Metropolis. The fast tempo, energetic rhythms, and dramatic musical contrast lead to images of brightly lit city streets, picturesque skyscrapers, and spirited driving. Get ready and hang on, because here is Mr. Heller. And the oh, he needs this music, he doesn't have it memorized. And the Pendale Wind Ensemble, thank you. First announcement actually doesn't have to do with the next performing group, but is one that certainly will not come as too big a surprise, but the high school principal, Mr. Hines, just came to me and asked that I announce that the district has closed school and all activities for tomorrow. I know that, yeah. It's certainly been a very, so all school and all after-school activities, including all after-school and evening activities tomorrow are canceled. And the weather has a lot of different effects. I know that there was a trip to Quebec for many of our middle schoolers, and it shifted some of our orders tonight, and it also has brought us a few guest participants in Pembrook's group tonight, and we're very grateful to 3 students, all high school students, right, all 3, that are joining us. We have Katie Solomon on tuba, Nabil Mukit sitting in on tenor sax, and Alex Alvareno is a percussionist, correct? Yeah, so all 3 of them are sitting in to fill in a few parts while their counterparts, so to speak, are on a bus to Quebec right now, so we're very grateful. Give the 3 of them a hand for sitting in with the group tonight. The first composition is called Carnegie Anthem. It is a brilliant and musical tribute to commemorate Carnegie Hall, which was built in 1891 and is the home of the New York Philharmonic. The second one, called Nevermore, if you like Edgar Allan Poe, then you recognize it in that way because it is based on the poem Raven. It describes a man who is confronted by a raven and slowly descends into utter madness. Here is the Pembrook Wind Ensemble in the direction of Mr. Dave DiValentino. As the wind ensembles taking the stage, tell you how happy Mr. Britcher and I are to be here tonight. And earlier I referred to how interesting O'Hare Airport was on a day before a storm, no matter where you are in the region. Make a long story short, we took our half-hour quick plane ride back to O'Hare from over near Elkhart and got off the plane and were told we had 8 minutes till they were closing the gate for the last United flight to Philadelphia on the opposite side of O'Hare. Now, how many of you know how stressful that moment was for us? So, yeah. So being that let's say the Boy Scout in me packed very lightly for this trip, and I was bobbing and weaving a little faster, and I got to the gate first, as they were closing it, even though we had called ahead, and I was doing everything I could because they said, go take your seat, and they were basically saying, we can't wait for the other guy. And I said, I wanted to say, but he's a wind ensemble director, he's got a concert tonight. So I went out on the tarmac and laid in front of the plane. No. But I will tell you that I had used all of my distractionary techniques to keep that gate open for about another 90 seconds because it was late taking off because we had a concert tonight and we got here. So it was a lot of fun, but we made it. And then there was the Blue Route 95, but we'll go from there. Made it, we're all here. So in a few minutes, I will introduce our final group of the evening. Thank you. The ensemble seated before you represents the pinnacle of our nationally acclaimed band program. In recent years, the High School Wind Ensemble has performed at some of the most prestigious wind band events in the country, including multiple performances at the Mid-Atlantic Honors Wind Band Festival, a performance at the 2012 Music for All National Conference Festival, and next month they will make their second appearance at the Pennsylvania Music Educators State Conference. The list of guest conductors, adjudicators, and clinicians that have worked with the ensemble in the past few years reads like a who's list of modern wind band movement. Their collective assessment of the band can best be summed up by the comments made by James Keene, Director Emeritus of the University of Illinois Band Program. Following the group's performance in Indianapolis 2012, Keene commented, "This is a very fine band, expertly rehearsed and supremely confident. From top to bottom, there is not a weakness to be found." The group will perform 3 selections for you tonight, and I will introduce them each as the selection comes along. The first is Firefly. Composer Ryan George writes the following about the piece. "I'm amazed at how children use their imaginations to transform the ordinary and normal into the extraordinary and fantastic. Just about anything they come across can be used to spark their fantasies and usher their minds into unseen worlds. The idea for Firefly was born one night as I watched my 4-year-old daughter become mesmerized by a firefly that had wandered into our front yard. When I asked her what she thought of the firefly, she looked at me with a puzzled look and said with a corrective tone, 'Dad, that's not a firefly, it's Tinkerbell.' And she's come to take me on an adventure. And here is your adventure as you get to hear our group perform Firefly." The wind ensemble's second selection has 4 movements or sections to it. I will introduce each of those sections before they play each of the movements. Composer Roger Chichi wrote the following about this composition. Bugs came to mind a few years ago, and the thought of giving a musical personality to the selected bugs seemed humorous, inventive, and capricious all at the same time. The particular bugs represented in this suite were chosen partly because of the contrasting styles of music that would be composed for each of them. Praying mantis, as its name infers, provides a perfect topic for a slow, religioso movement. The mantis is often pictured resting with its front legs folded as though in meditation or prayer. Praying mantis. Black Widow Spider was a movement I could not resist. Set to a cool blues, the opening statement was written with an 8-note pattern representing the 8 legs of a spider, which changes several times in order of notes but contains the same pitches. Within a few repetitions of the pattern, 5 more notes are added to complete a dodecaphonic or 12-tone row, which represents the spider's web. The textures begin changing from cool blues to hot as the black widow spider approaches its prey with its deadly venom. Black Widow Spider. tiger swallowtail. The suite would be incomplete without the most gorgeous of all insects, the butterfly. I chose the tiger swallowtail for no particular reason other than it is commonly called the flying flower. Set in a lyrical style, this movement tries to musically depict the grace and beauty of such a remarkable insect as the tiger swallowtail. For the final movement, we're going to do something a little bit different because off in the wings and now moving on to the stage are the elementary wind ensemble members, and we are going to invite, perhaps depicting something called Army of Ants, but an army of young instrumentalists onto the stage. And we want them to get, in a sense, up close and personal because I remember the first time I sat next to someone that was much older than me and watched them play the trumpet and how it changed me. And it's something we've been talking a lot about as a staff. And so we're going to mix them amongst the Army on stage. And once they get settled in, I'll tell you more about the final movement called Army Ants. This is an experiment. We've never done this before, so bear with us. This final movement, called Armians, provides the perfect subject for a march-style piece. Kichi created a dissonant march portraying the ants as savage predators, which are constantly on the move. Army ants. Parents, ask your kids how they felt to be up here, because really, I also have that vantage point. It just feels different, but you saw their faces. It changed them. Their musicianship has now changed in how they feel about what they do, because they got to be amongst these students. So high school folks, thanks for having such a positive influence. It was great. Nicely done. Let's give them another hand. And as the elementary students are leaving, it really can't be overstated the positive influence that our older musicians have upon our younger musicians in this program. And a night like this gives that opportunity to happen. And we're going to have something like that happen a little later in the program. Mr. Britcher is going to fill you in as well for that when we get to it. So their final composition as wind ensemble is Asphalt Cocktail. Composer John Mackey contributes the following about the piece. Several years ago, when I was living in Manhattan, I was walking down Columbus Avenue with my good friend and fellow composer, Jonathan Newman. Somehow, the topic of titles for pieces came up, and Newman said a title that stopped me in my tracks there on the sidewalk, Asphalt Cocktail. I begged him to let me use the title. That title screams Napoleonic testosterone music. I was born to write that, I pleaded. No, was his initial response. I asked regularly over the next few years, and the answer was always the same. No, it's mine. In May 2008, I asked him again, begging more pathetically this time than I had before, and his answer this time surprised me. Fine, he said, but I'll be needing your firstborn child. This was easily agreeable by me, as I don't have any kids. So he moved on. An Asphalt Cocktail was written. It is a 5-minute opener designed to shout from the opening measure. We're here with biting trombones, blaring trumpets, and percussion dominated by cross rhythms and backbeats. It aims to capture the grit and aggression that I associate with the time I lived in New York. Picture the scariest New York City taxi ride you can imagine, with the cabs skidding around the turns as trucks bear down from all sides. And now you've pictured Asphalt Cocktail. Mr. Britcher and the Wind Ensemble. That one's as much work to conduct as it is to play, I have a feeling, Mr. Britcher. Before passing it on to Mr. Britcher to talk to you for a moment, we're going to need about a 5-minute stage change because the wind ensemble is being joined by some students, and we're going to have a combined number. And I'm going to say if there's any band director type sitting toward the front of the house that want to help me with a stage set, that would be great. Here is Mr. Britcher.
Thank you all so much for coming out this evening. We're doing a couple of things a little differently this evening at our wind ensemble concert than we've done in the past. If you've attended any of the high school band concerts, you know that I'm a huge proponent of finishing our concerts with combined band numbers. And I decided in talking with the middle school directors, one of the things that we really wanted to do this evening was to give the 9th grade wind ensemble members the opportunity to come up and join the high school band and play a final selection, to give them the opportunity to sit right beside the high school students and really see what it feels like to be part of the ensemble. So if you give us just a few moments while we reset the stage, we'll be right back with you with the high school wind ensemble and our 9th graders from the 3 middle school wind ensembles to perform David Holsinger's Gathering of the Ranks at Hebron.
I told the joke about us almost not getting here. That was true, though. No, that really was true. It was, that was very close. This ensemble gathered for the first time the night they had their dress rehearsals here, which was by now 2 weeks ago, I guess. And so as each of the middle school groups performed on stage to do their rehearsal, the high school wind ensemble sat in with them so they would get a feeling of how the music would be. And as you can see, we've done 2 things differently here this evening, and they've both had to do with how to connect even more with our middle school and elementary aspect of the program and having them have a more personal contact with what's happening on stage tonight. And the one thing sometimes you can't account for is, again, it's such a large group, it takes a moment to set it up, but I believe we are ready to go. This combined ensemble, which is a combined 9th through 12th grade ensemble right now, doing the Gathering of the Ranks of Hebron by a very famous writer of band literature, David Holsinger. And to wrap things up then, Mr. Britcher and our combined wind ensembles. Thank you for waiting.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again, I just wanted to thank you all for giving up your time, your energy, your efforts to come here and support us this evening. The reason we brought the elementary students up, the reason we brought the ninth graders up with us, you know, we had on the stage performing tonight the finest wind and percussion students that we have here in the North Penn Band program. And I sincerely hope that you, as their family members, you understand just how vital they are to the continued success of this band program. I hope that band has been something, obviously, that has been incredibly important to your families. And I would encourage you to just really enjoy how special what we have here is. This band program is certainly the envy of this region and very, very special, unlike any other thing that is found in the immediate area for sure. I can't tell you what a privilege it is to have the opportunity to work with these incredible young people every day. I know all the middle school band directors feel exactly the same way. Thank you all so much. Be safe. It's not snowing yet. Get home ahead of the storm and brace yourselves. Here it comes again. So thank you all once again and have a wonderful evening.